It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hi, I'm Rupha Ramani and you're watching Sports This Week. It's a roundup of all the top sporting action and news from the week that was. Pakistan, of course, continues to be in the news for all the wrong reasons. Does the country value their own ego and politics higher than the well-being of their own top stars? Over in football, Cape Verde made history by becoming the second smallest country to qualify for the World Cup next year. How did they manage to do this, and what does this mean for their football journey? India is buzzing with excitement for Lionel Messi's tour, but contrasting reports are emerging of Argentina's friendly against Australia set to be held in Kerala being canned. How will this impact fans and, more importantly, Messi? India lose to Australia at the Women's World Cup game. Despite scoring a mammoth 300-plus target, Aussies managed to get across the line. Is it more than just the contest between bat and ball? Do the Aussies have the mental edge over India, especially when it comes to World Cups? And India's men's cricket team is gearing up to tour Australia this weekend. The hosts, though, are already busy engaging in mind games ahead of the series. A video mocking India's handshake row went viral and was immediately pulled down after it received heavy backlash. All of these stories heading your way. Pakistan's sporting structure is crumbling, and not because of a shortage of talent. It's collapsing because the system has stopped valuing its own heroes. From cricket to athletics, from hockey to football, the story is the same. Mismanagement, neglect, and politics that has infected every level of every sport. And what can you expect from an administration that itself has no direction, no vision, and no respect for the people who built its legacy? PCB chairman Mohsin Naqvi literally locked away the Asia Cup trophy. He's refusing to hand it to India. That still continues, turning what should have been a celebration of sport into an ego tussle. And this isn't sportsmanship, it's pettiness dressed as pride. And honestly, that's the perfect metaphor for Pakistan's sporting culture today. Locking away the gems, cornering the talent, and rewarding mediocrity. Look at their biggest cricket star, Babar Azam. He finally returned to action in the Test series against South Africa. That's underway, and the Lahore crowd erupted. Not when Pakistan scored a boundary, but when captain Shan Masood got out. Because the next batter walking in was Babar Azam. That's the kind of love and loyalty Babar garners today amongst the people, amongst his fans. This is the same player who was stripped of captaincy, ignored for the Asia Cup, and constantly ridiculed by his own, not his opponents, his very own. Former PCB chairman Ramiz Raza mocked Babar live on air. And this isn't a one-off. Ramiz Raja even trolled Shan Masood last year after Pakistan's historic win over England. It's a system that feeds on its own heroes, and the rot runs deep. Remember the Wasim Akram statue, a bizarre, poorly crafted structure that looked more like a half-hearted attempt than a tribute, a perfect symbol of how Pakistan honors its champions. And then there's, of course, Imran Khan, the man who lifted Pakistan's first ever World Cup, once their biggest sporting icon, locked up today and forgotten, because politics always wins over pride and a vision in Pakistan. And it's not just cricket that's bleeding. Athletics too is facing the brickbats. Take Arshad Nadeem, the one athlete who carried Pakistan's flag on the global stage. And what does the system do? Instead of celebrating him and supporting him, the Athletes Federation of Pakistan has handed his coach a lifetime ban. His only crime, speaking up against mismanagement. He accused the federation of ignoring Arshad, of not releasing funds and of taking credit only when the medals were coming home. When Arshad underperformed at the World Championships, they interrogated his coach over the expenses incurred and then banned him for allegedly violating federation rules. And this isn't new. Footballers who once brought honour to Pakistan have turned to hawking to survive. Hockey players go unpaid for months. While the rest of the world is building athlete-first systems, Pakistan seems obsessed with building ego-first institutions. And that's why Messi Naqvi's trophy stunt isn't shocking. Because in Pakistan, the administrator is always bigger than the athlete. The chairman matters more than the champion. The ego outweighs the efforts. But Naqvi has forgotten one thing. This isn't the Pakistan Cricket Board's trophy, it's the Asian Cricket Council's. He can disrespect his own players, he can destroy his own system, but he cannot drag the entire continent into his personal politicking. We told you weeks ago that BCCI did not take too kindly to how this was playing out and will be pushing for Naqvi's removal from ACC and, if reports are to be believed, from the ICC too. And honestly, that might just be the accountability Pakistan's sporting system desperately needs now. From Imran Khan to Arshad Nadeem, from Wasim Akram to Babar Azam, Pakistan keeps punishing the very people who gave it global recognition. It must first unlock the trophies, free the talent and silence all the egos, because before Pakistan can win on the field, it needs to stop losing off it. Cape Verde have qualified for their first ever FIFA World Cup, a tiny archipelago off the coast of West Africa, with a population smaller than some city suburbs, has rewritten football history. They're now officially the second smallest nation ever to reach the Men's World Cup, only behind Iceland, who did it in 2018. It's a statement to every small country that size, money and legacy don't decide destiny. Heart, hunger and hard work do. This is the story of how a nation once forgotten on the football map, the Blue Sharks, fought their way from obscurity to the grandest stage of them all. A story that reminds the world what sport truly stands for. Hope, never-ending hope.
Go back just 3 decades. Few even knew that Cape Verde played international football. They were new to the global scene, joining the CAF and FIFA only in the 1980s, struggling for recognition, facilities and funding. For years, football there was more about community than competition, more passion than possibility. Then came a flicker of belief. In 2013, Cape Verde made their first ever Africa Cup of Nations appearance. They didn't just show up, they reached the quarter-finals, stunning seasoned African giants. It was the first glimpse of what could be. And they repeated that success later, quietly building a reputation for resilience. But the World Cup, that felt like a dream too far. Until now. The 2026 qualifiers changed everything. Grouped with powerhouses like Cameroon, Angola and Libya, no one gave them a real chance. But Cape Verde, they didn't just compete, they believed. The match that sealed their fate, a 3-0 win over Eswatini in Praia. Goals from Livramento, Semedo and Stopira turned the dream into a reality. In stoppage time, Stopira, a veteran, came on and sealed the scoreline, a symbolic nod to history, legacy and continuity. That night, the stadium roared louder than the ocean that surrounds it. But it wasn't just one match that got them there. It was months of consistency, grit, and unity that built up to it. They stayed unbeaten at home. Every match in Praia felt like a fortress. Under coach Babista, the Blue Sharks found an identity, organized, fearless and fiercely proud. They trusted experience, nurtured young fire and built chemistry. And even before the final whistle could confirm qualification, the nation erupted. Schools closed, streets flooded with joy. Cape Verde declared a national holiday. This isn't just an underdog story, it's a symbol, a beacon of possibility. When a nation of 500,000 people can punch their way to the World Cup, it tells every small nation, every child dreaming barefoot on a dusty field, that everything is possible. Cape Verde's qualification shakes the foundations of football's hierarchy. It says you don't need billion-dollar leagues or golden generations, you need vision, planning and belief. Sure, the challenges ahead are massive. They'll face teams with deeper squads, greater resources and far more global experience. But Cape Verde has already won something far more powerful, belief, that they belong here. And belief, once lit, is unstoppable.
All of India is excited for the Lionel Messi visit, a football legend who won't just be making a customary appearance. All Messi and football fans in the country are being promised a full-blown tour, with stops at various cities across the country. And one pit stop that has been most anticipated is Kerala, an Indian state that lives, breathes and eats the sport. But now conflicting reports are emerging that this Kerala lake may get canned, even as organizers are saying otherwise, as Messi's much anticipated India sojourn started with a major hiccup. And will this affect the rest of the GOAT tour? Now, if there's one state in India that really symbolizes football, it is Kerala. The sport is a religion here. There are generations of football-loving fans who live in one big ecosystem. For them, the lore of Argentina and Brazil, the genius of Pelé and Maradona are bigger battle lines than any political leanings they may have. A violent brawl broke out in the streets here between Argentina and Brazil fans during the 2022 World Cup. Safe to say, Argentina and Messi's arrival is huge for Kerala. It's a big deal. But a report in a Spanish daily may have rocked this dreamboat. La Nación quoted an AFA official saying this. What is essentially being said is that AFA, the Argentinian Football Association, is clearly unsure of the Kerala leg going off as planned. Now, the schedule initially entailed a game to be played between Argentina and Australia, a friendly, a game that would have some of the top players, including the biggest draw, Messi, in there. So what's happened over the last few weeks then? JNU Stadium at Kallur in Kochi is the venue, and last month, a stadium manager representing AFA, Hector Daniel Cabrera, visited the venue for an inspection of the ground facilities. In fact, Kerala Sports Minister Abdul Rahman assured everyone that things were on track, that Australia had agreed to play the friendly as well, and the date was set November 17th. Organisers, in fact, are saying this is going to happen. But this fresh report, citing concerns of requirements not being met and also stating repeated breaches by the authorities in Kerala, has thrown the most crucial part of this tour into disarray. There, in fact, has been radio silence from the ministry as well regarding this so far. So there are two disappointing takeaways from this Spanish report. If this were indeed true, one, Indian fans are in a limbo now, stuck in anxiety. Plans had been made, as you have to in advance, if you have to keep your date with destiny. Witness arguably the best footballer in action. And now there is a heavy cloud of uncertainty over all of this. Two, the disconcerting fact is that This feels like deja vu all over again. Messi promising something and not being able to deliver it. Ask Hong Kong. Unfortunately, even though the matter seems beyond Messi's hands, if the news reports are to be believed, the bottom line is this: Messi will not perform in front of his most ardent Indian fans. And that will sting. Argentina and Messi have not exactly had a rosy PR machinery in place this last year. For Messi, the Hong Kong episode left a dent in his footballing image. Not something he cannot brush aside, but a speed bump nevertheless, something that could have been evaded or managed better. The football country too was embroiled in the middle of a controversy post the Copa America triumph. And a silent Messi only fueled that fire. So if anything, this India tour has to be magical. There has to be Messi and a lot of him, playing, smiling, creating memories, and giving fans here an unforgettable piece of his presence. So yes, what is needed now is some clarity from all invested parties regarding this tour and whether Messi's diehard fans in India will get to see him in action. Not on the sidelines, not on the bench, but on the pitch, where he can redeem the love that he's garnered through his illustrious career. India lost to Australia in the World Cup, marking their second defeat in the tournament. This despite amassing a 300-plus total batting first, daunting for any opposition in this format. Australia's Alyssa Healy played a captain's knock to shut India out. The bigger question, though, stems from what seems to be a bit of a pattern when it comes to this cricketing rivalry. What happens to India when in front of an Australian outfit? Is there a mental barrier that is superseding skills and the contest of bat versus ball? The scoreline will tell you that it was a close contest, and yes, for most part of it, it certainly was. India did well batting first, and that target would put any cricket side under immense pressure straight away. And Australia, after a point, did feel the heat when India managed to put the brakes later on. The captain, needless to say, stood tall. And it somehow feels like Alyssa Healy has seamlessly taken that baton forward from a tenacious Meg Lanning as captain and leader in the batting lineup. But there's more. Everyone in there stands up to be a leader. Everyone shares the burden of responsibility when it comes to the big games, a World Cup game. Take the captain Healy, for instance. In the last 11 innings, this is including her match against India recently, these were her scores: 34, 39, 70, 29, 15, 27, 9, 30, 19 and 20. Just the one half century, and that came against England, and she comes and whacks 142 in her 11th innings, and that happens to be against India. That's just undoubtedly the best example of what this means to her. What a World Cup game and one against India will make her do. How hard she will push her limits. The bottom line with India, managed to score 300 plus, that is incredible, but still couldn't hold on. The numbers coming up is, of course, the top 6 highest successful run chases in ODI cricket, and 5 of those have been made against India. It tells you one story very clearly. While India can rake up the runs, they've got the batters, they're not being able to defend those runs. But more than that, it seems to be the mental barrier. We've seen the men's team face exactly that. In the 2023 ODI final, a team that was flawless up until that point faltered in front of a dogged fighting Aussie side. That's what this women's team represents too, a psyche that is cemented from birth of tenacity and an attitude that just never gives up. We've seen that so many times, whether it was an injured Glenn Maxwell playing out of his skins to get Australia through against Afghanistan in the World Cup, Shane Watson bleeding and standing his ground with the bat in an IPL game, or Elisa Perry coming back out even after retiring hurt and putting up a gritty display to keep India at bay. India lacks that proper extra bowler for sure. That's on paper, and the numbers say so. And they might just be forced to rectify that despite Harmanpreet Kaur laying the onus on the batters here. But there are some things that you just can't point out or pen down when it comes to matchups, like India versus Australia. It goes beyond things like stature and skill set. It points to that fortitude, that mental battle, and how far you are willing to take your mind to fight what could be impending defeat. And that's what India needs to muster as they look to go deep in this tournament, the World Cup. India versus Australia is just some days away. It's been a busy cricketing calendar for both these sides, yet Australia seems to be just able to find the time to get into the mind games and start taunting their opposition even before they've arrived in their country. So what have they dished out to India this time? How far have they taken the act, and what more to expect? Now, when you are going up against Australia in any format, you've got to realize a few things by now. One, you're going up against a system. It's not just a team. When it's you versus Australia, it's not only the players on the field, it's a whole army that's behind and against you. The ground staff, media, fans, everybody chime in. Two, be very prepared to be welcomed by taunts, jeers, below-the-belt jibes, and all things other than cricketing challenges. Let's admit Aussies have surely mastered one thing while dominating their opposition on the field with their skill set, and that's the art of sledging. Something they surely did not miss a chance at indulging in days before the limited over series against India begins. So what has happened now? An anchor with an Australian sports streaming service, while interviewing some of the top Australian cricketers, both male and female, brought up the topic of India. And in a taunting question directed towards the Indian men's cricket team about them, suggested that the best way to overcome India would be to target their weakness, which was clearly their unwillingness to shake hands. And the response from the Australians was instant, bordering on the brash, even rude gestures that they were hoping would pass off as a bit of a joke. Now, obviously, the initial assumption is that this is linked to the whole Asia Cup episode where India did not shake hands with their counterparts, Pakistan, after the games, leading to an uproar and some ugly scenes during all the matches that took place between these two countries during that entire tournament right up to the final. Now, to set it straight here, this was a stand India took, keeping in mind the sentiment of a country that was enraged post what happened in Pahalgam, and how the Pakistan government has not taken a stand against terrorism and terror acts. Sometimes certain gestures are purely beyond the realm of the game, but this taunt was also possibly alluding to what transpired between India and England recently during a test series. When England captain Ben Stokes approached the Indian batters at that point, Ravindra Jadeja and Washington Sundar, to call it a draw and pack their bags, despite them nearing their hundreds, and India, of course, refusing to shake hands on principle. That the day was not done just yet, and these batters deserved the milestones. They were not being petty, but the Aussie media here and the players surely seemed to be. Glenn Maxwell trying the fist in the palm, Grace Harris placing a thumb on her nose and wiggling the other fingers, fashioning a childish taunt, Sophie Molinix doing the Italian salute, which translates to basically the up yours gesture, then even using the middle fingers. Mitchell Marsh doing the finger in the cup, ice cup gesture, and it goes on. Now, the video unfortunately was deleted, and no guesses why. It triggered a massive response, but not before, of course, the pictures went viral. One particular user brought up Sandpaper Gate to suggest that the Aussies do not know how to play fair, so the least they can do is play nice. But they have been far from that. It doesn't fit into their psyche. They will pride themselves on giving it off with bat and ball and their words and gestures. They will take great pride in accosting an Indian captain at an airport, but turn and call the cricketer out here for being a bully. He was just stopping the media from recording his kids. And in actuality, they fit that description to the T themselves. If their media has the gumption to do this, that you can see on your screens, then just imagine the players. But even sledging, taunts and jibes need some class, Australia. There has simply got to be a difference between smart intimidation and brainless trolling. Australia, though, has managed to match the jibes off the pitch with their performance on it in the past. But if they do not in the series that's coming up, then rest assured, India will love to have the last laugh without even trying to put them down with any such antics.
Want the facts?
The latest developments?
News that gets straight to the point.
Well, we've got all three just for you. This is Firstpost Live, a brand new show, your window into what really matters.
Don't miss it.